Hi everyone, welcome back to Speaking Spurs with me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham. And today we finally get to talk about some positives. Hooray! It's been a while, isn't it? Or it feels like forever. You know, when you're down in the dumps, things just seem to drag on. Obviously, there are some negatives that we're going to talk about as well. We covered slightly in the last video. But this is mainly going to be about this 2-1 victory that we've just had over Southampton with our brand new manager, Ryan Mason, who's interim manager until the end of the season, got his first win under his belt. Couldn't be happier for him. Yeah, Ryan Mason takes over from Jose Mourinho, 29 years old, youngest Premier League manager ever. So been at Spurs since he was 18 years old. Just over 20 years on, there he is, taking the helm, first game in charge. I have to say, his press conference before the game, as I said in the last video, very impressed with that. Quite rightly dodged all the questions to do with the Super League, which you would under pressure leading into your first game. It's a huge thing for him. It's not like he's been managing all around the world like Pep Guardiola and people like that can come in and quite happily talk about these things. He just needs to get down and focus, which he did very well. So, the build-up was obviously a little bit ruined to this game because of the Super League. Questions being asked of every manager, of all the players. Pretty much anyone that could talk was talking about the Super League. So I feel sorry for Ryan in that sense that he's taken over at such a controversial time. But I have a feeling that was something to do with it. And I sat here and recorded a video to do with the Super League. Was going to talk you through everything to do with that. And the problem was, as I was doing the video, more and more information was being released. So for this video to have been accurate, I would have had to have done a YouTube live, which I can't do at the moment because I haven't been on YouTube long enough to do that. Or it was going to end up being like an hour and a half long. Yeah, but as I say, things just kept progressing and eventually we ended up pulling out. There was a lot of outrage from fans. Obviously, the Chelsea fans bombarded their stadium. The delay of 15 minutes in the kickoff between their game of them and Brighton. Liverpool fans burning the shirts. Lots and lots going on. So, thankfully, it's kind of all done and dusted in that sense, so us fans can focus on the football till the end of the season. But this has not gone away. There's a lot of bad feeling about the clubs. And before this game, there was protests outside the stadium. Lots of fans with their banners. Enoch out, Levy out. A lot of us feel very hurt and betrayed by this. And I'm in two minds. I mean, ultimately, I'm disappointed. I'm not defending any of these guys for what they've done. I do feel from a financial standpoint and a business standpoint, what they were trying to do makes complete sense. And Daniel Levy has always been very good at keeping our finances in check. He calls himself a Spurs fan, and I think lots of us have questioned that over the last 72 hours. But I feel like it was one of them situations where if the Super League had have gone ahead and the teams were able to stay in the Premier League, I think Daniel Levy would have regretted not being in it from a financial standpoint because the money involved keeps the business viable every season. They were talking about 300 million, I think it was euros, not pounds, but 300 million euros just for being in it every season when we get only £150 million to be in the Premier League each season. So that's a huge amount of money, and there's less pressure to get fees for your players of like high amounts. You can afford to let players go a little bit cheaper. So I'm not defending him. I think from a football standpoint, it was absolutely disgusting. None of us agreed with it. But thank God it's over, and now I can actually think about renewing my season ticket. Because that was something I wasn't going to do had we been in this Super League. Unfortunately, we haven't actually had an apology from Daniel Levy yet. There's been apologies of the other clubs. And I feel like we at least deserve an apology. I know it's not going to be a genuine one. But swallow your pride, come out and speak to us. Tell us what the thinking was behind it. And this is the problem. It was behind our backs as well. There's many ways they could have formatted this, marketed it, made it viable for everyone, but it was just a very close shop, very selfish, and it just made it look completely about money. But enough of that. Let's move into the game. because that's what we're all here for. So if we look at the lineup, Ryan Mason's first lineup for Tottenham Hotspur, Lloris stays in goal. He went to a back four of Reguilon and Aurier as left and right back. Alderweireld and Dyer make up the centre-back positions. Then in midfield, the central two of Højbjerg and Ndombele. On the wings, Sonny on the left. Gareth Bale comes back into the squad on the right. Very happy to see that. Lo Celso in at number 10. And then Lucas Moura as the option up front. It's an interesting one. I did say that I prefer Moura in the centre rather than out wide, which, he gave us, but he put him up top. I actually feel like, although we got the win, I would have preferred to see, and I know Bale doesn't want to play there, he wants to play on the right, I'd have preferred to see Bale playing up top as the striker just until Harry's back, and I would have put Bergwijn out on the right, I would have rested Lo Celso, had him on the bench, and I'd have put Moura in that number 10 role. They're the changes I would have made. Now, if we look at the subs bench, we had Sanchez, Hart, Sissoko, Dele, Tanganga, Vinicius, and then the three substitutes that were used in the game were Harry Winks, Bergwijn came back into the squad, and Eric Lamela. So if we move on to the game, it was a bit of a disappointing start. Ryan Mason had obviously come out and he said that he wanted us to play more like Spurs. He wanted us to be attacking. He wanted us to give it a go. Not this defensive style of football with just counter-attacks that we've been playing under Jose. He wanted to give Spurs their identity back because that's what we've been missing. We've had no identity. Who are Tottenham Hotspur anymore? I have no idea. And that's what he wanted. And unfortunately, we didn't get that from the start. And I think that's probably down to the fact there's been loads of crap go on in the days building up to the game. The Super League stuff, then losing your manager, the uncertainty of what's going to happen with the leagues coming out saying we'll try and suspend you from the Premier League, UEFA saying you won't be able to play international games. Don't think for a second the players didn't have that on their minds. Of course they did. But yeah, anyway, shaky start from them. And Hugo Lloris straight into the action, really, with a double save from Salazar and then the follow-up by Che Adams. Nice double save from Lloris. Everything that you expect of him. And if any of you follow me on Instagram, the new page, it's been up for about a week now. And if you want to find that, it's speaking_Spurs. So follow me there. I put up everything, really, that comes out from Tottenham. So if any of you saw that, you would have seen the post about Hugo Lloris and just how important he is to us, really. He makes more saves that he shouldn't than any other goalkeeper. Now, by that, what I mean is expected goals. There are certain areas within the goal or certain types of shot that come in that you would expect to concede from. Now, Hugo Lloris makes more saves from the expected goals than any of the other goalkeepers. So imagine what would have happened to us if he hadn't been in between the sticks and we'd have had, Alisson, Kepa, Mendy, anyone like that. We could be in a very different position if it wasn't for Hugo Lloris. So although he's come under some criticism recently, I think it might be a bit unjustified. Myself included, I've been criticising him, but came to the rescue. Kyle Walker-Peters had a chance to score as well, and Lloris come out and smothered that. So from him, a good start. From us, not such a good start. And then on the half-hour mark, they have the ball in the back of the net. And shock horror, it's Danny Ings. Fantastic striker. I really like Danny Ings. Somebody that I would love to see at the club. But whilst Harry Kane's there's no chance of him coming to play second fiddle. More likely to go somewhere like Manchester City with Aguero heading out the door there. But if Harry Kane went, Danny Ings, come along, you're more than welcome. But there it was, a goal from them. Danny Ings, it was a good header. He was on the left-hand side in the 18-yard box, and he's got a lot of work to do. The ball comes all the way across. Lloris is slightly blindsided from all the bodies in front of him as to where it's going. So it comes in, he heads it into that bottom right-hand corner. Didn't need loads of power on it, just guided it all the way across goal. Good work from them, and they were playing very well. They were good in possession of the ball. Salazar, I have to say, was very impressive coming down that left-hand side. Gave Aurier a few problems in the first half. Although I do feel like Aurier defended pretty well, especially compared to what we've seen from him over the course of the hard times of this season, certainly for him and Doherty and whatever's going on there. But yeah, Salazar looks like a very good player for the future. Something was obviously said at half-time because the players come out, and in that second half we were so much better. There was a lot more intensity. We were better on the ball. Things just seemed to be clicking. We were playing a lot quicker. And man to save us there, Gareth Bale on the hour mark. Lovely shot from him. It's a typical Gareth Bale goal. Like, there's no getting away from it. When he gets onto that left foot, and it doesn't matter where he is, 2 yards, 10 yards, 18 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards. It's the same thing. He just curls it round. He knew exactly what he was doing. Goalkeeper didn't really have a chance from this one. Picks the ball up, takes his little touch out. He's got 2 players to the left of him, and he uses them as a marker to guide the ball round. And if you actually watch this in slow motion, Gareth Bale doesn't look at the goal. He knows exactly where it is. Just guides it round the players into that corner, as he does. Gareth Bale, superstar, thankful to have you back in the squad. Didn't deserve to come back out of it. I mean, he had one bad game against Arsenal, albeit a very bad game, but he wasn't the only one. The squad were terrible. Did he deserve to come out? No, but there have been rumours circulating that Jose never wanted him. Daniel Levy wanted him back because he was going to bring us a lot of money in shirt sales and things like that. Naturally, the pandemic kind of stopped all those sorts of things because we couldn't have the fans in the stadiums. But when Jose doesn't like a player, they don't get played. And that's the way it is. But back in the squad, and really he was our best player for so much of the game. And although you will see at times he gave the ball away a lot, it was because his mind works differently to the rest of the players. I think where at Real Madrid, you're surrounded by elite players, and I mean real elite players, where they almost know what each other are going to do. They know which runs to make. They don't hesitate. They're an attacking team. And I think where our mindset has been a bit off under Jose, people just don't read things that Gareth's going to do. He plays a lot of first-time passes to where the players should be running onto or moving into, and then he makes his runs off of them. So there was a few of them that went astray, but I'm not really going to criticise Gareth for that because he was playing positive, he was looking for the balls, just wasn't read by his teammates. But yeah, Gareth Bale putting us back into the game there. And we took the lead, or so we thought we did, from that man Sonny. It was very unlucky, really. It was ruled out for offside. VAR did their checks and Lucas Moura was in an offside position, and they've deemed that where he was offside was too close to the goalkeeper and it was blocking his view. Was it right? It's a tough one because I feel like the ball was going in the back of the net regardless. Maybe it's to do with the angles that they had. From the angle that certainly we saw several times on the television, I did think to myself, oh, they're going to rule this one out. I would have liked to have seen a few more angles, but they didn't really show them. So, I don't know there. But yeah, that one was ruled out after I sat there screaming like a little teenage girl going to a pop concert. And I was on my back like, yeah, about time, getting really excited. And then it gets chalked off. But VAR then helped us. So there was a challenge from Gineppo on Reguilon right on the edge of the box, and anything on that line counts as inside the box. So VAR review it and we get a penalty. I mean, the build up to it was quite sloppy play from Southampton, really. They didn't do very well to clear their lines. Ball comes out, Gineppo just makes a rash challenge that he doesn't really need to. Reguilon goes down. We're given the penalty. But Harry Kane's not on the pitch. So naturally there's a little worry because when Harry Kane's on the pitch and steps up for a penalty, you know it's going to end up in the back of the net. But Sonny steps up. And I was confident he was going to score. And he didn't let us down. So Sonny scores the goal. 2-1 up. Finally get a victory. And it was a sweet one, really, because obviously we saw like West Ham have lost to Leicester recently. Liverpool drew to Leeds. Chelsea drew to Brighton. So that puts us into 6th place, which doesn't sound great, but only 2 points off the top 4. Now, the only negative to that is the other teams around us have a game in hand. So I would expect that gap's going to grow again. But all we've got to do is keep putting in performances and winning. What do we take away from that in terms of players? I think Hugo Lloris had a decent game. He made important saves that certainly kept us in it. Bale coming back into the squad was just nice for us because he adds that bit of quality. But he was our best player on the pitch. He fought on that pitch, was playing clever passes, getting involved, doing what Gareth Bale does best. Did some lovely take-ons. Still not back to what would I expect is his best. But he's been out again for a decent chunk of time because Jose hasn't been playing him. So he's not match sharp. But I would expect that Ryan's going to give him a decent run until the end of the season. So I expect more goals. You know, good energy from him. I was a little bit disappointed in Ndombele and Lo Celso. I think since Lo Celso's come back from this injury, he's not quite been the same player. It's not through lack of effort. He's trying. It's just things aren't coming off for him at the moment. Whereas Tanguy Ndombele, can we put it down to the fact that he's played a little football and he's burnt out? Maybe. I mean, Jose worked a lot with him after his, poor entrance to the team under Pochettino. And then he spent a lot of time on the bench under Jose. But during the first lockdown, Jose put a lot of work in with him to get him back to fitness. And he's kind of been one of Jose's main men. So there may have been a little bit of disappointment from Tanguy to see Jose go. I mean, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes and how he feels about Jose. But there could also be the fact that Ryan Mason to Tanguy and Ndombele is going to be a bit of an unknown. And is there maybe a lack of respect there? And I'm not saying that in a negative way, that he, doesn't respect him, dislike him, won't play for him. But because it's not somebody he knows that well, I feel like Tanguy's one of these players that really has to feel involved and has to know his managers well. But yeah, disappointing from them two, really. Lucas didn't give us too much. And I think that's just the position that he was playing in, to be honest. We did actually switch up at some point. We saw Sonny go up there. And it made a little bit of a difference. As for the substitutes, like we saw Tanguy come off on 73 minutes. So there's no change from the whole Jose vibe there. He tends to take Tanguy off. Winks was okay when he came on. Kept the ball ticking over. And considering he hasn't had a lot of football, I felt like he gave a good account of himself. Saw the introduction of Eric Lamela for Lo Celso. Rightly so. I think those two substitutions were right. As I said, they were the two that impressed me the least. Lamela did okay. I mean, you know what you're going to get from him anyway. You're just going to get energy and, that headless chicken running around the pitch for us. And Steven Bergwijn finally made his way back into a matchday squad. But, he didn't exactly have long. He came on the 83rd minute, 7 minutes before the end of time, 6 minutes added on. Didn't really have loads and loads to do, but it's just good to see him back in the squad. And hopefully we see more of him coming into the end of the season because he's a young player. I do like him. And apparently there's been a lot of interest in him coming towards the end of the season. Apparently there's been talk of clubs wanting to take him on loan. And so far we've just said no. So I think the fact that Jose's gone is a reason why we're saying no. And I think we could see him a lot more towards the end of the season and into next season. That's it really. The rest of the players were sort of okay. And I don't think that's down to the fact that, we didn't play well. I just think it's been a tough few days for Tottenham. Southampton, they're not exactly a bad side. They definitely pressed us high up the pitch. And it was one of them where, we started slow, but we grew into the game and we dominated the game, which is the opposite of what we've had recently. We've been starting okay, going ahead, getting our goal, and then being really poor as the game wears on. So it was just nice to see things the other way around. But if we jump into the stats now, possession, we had 61.7% to their 38.3%. Now that is much better for us. Like, we haven't been great with the possession under Jose, so it's nice to see us back, and that just shows, although Southampton played very well for the first 20 minutes, throughout the rest of the game, we did dominate. Aerial duels, 56.7% to us, to their 43.3%. Interceptions, 8-7. Offsides, 2-0. Corners, 5 apiece. and Jules 48.8 to their 51.2. Now, although that sounds disappointing, the fact that they've won more of the Jules, I'm not too disappointed because we've had a lot of the ball. So you expect that they're going to have to make a lot more tackles throughout the game. So I'm not too fussed about that. It was nice to see that we had a few more corners, and that tells you everything you need to know, that we were attacking more. We were forcing them to have to give us corners. Keeper was having to make saves. Defenders were having to make blocks, which is much better than what we've had recently. As I said, against Newcastle, it was very poor in that sense, and I was worried at our lack of corners and the offsides because it meant we weren't breaking, weren't trying. So, I'm happy with that. It's definitely progress. So let's talk about the end of the game. Ryan Mason makes his first pitchside interview after the game. And this is what he had to say. It was great to start with a win, a massive relief. It's been a whirlwind of 2 to 3 very difficult days. The second half, he felt the players were outstanding. There was good commitment, good energy. It was brilliant. First half, we found it very difficult and we found it tough to get out. Said Hugo made 2 world-class saves. And as the game went on, we started to control it. At half-time, he talked about needing to have belief, more energy and bravery to play and express themselves. And that's the thing. We've got a lot of attacking flair within this team. And that's the one thing we've really been missing. They haven't had the chance to express themselves because they've felt like they've had to, do the defensive work and really be part of a proper unit to make sure they don't suffer the wrath of Jose Mourinho. What else did he say? Yeah, as well as expressing ourselves, we still had to stay in the game and compete as well. So that's just reiterating the fact that, go out there, enjoy yourself, show them what you can do, but be switched on because they will have chances as well. He conceded the fact that in the first half they were quicker to the second ball, the duels, the tackles, which is true. And then in the second half, he said we massively gained control. The ball was mainly in their half, and he feels like we thoroughly deserved the win. Couldn't agree more. For that first 20-minute period, it was bad. They got the goal at the half-hour mark, and I thought, oh, here we go again, like our poor Ryan Mason. But, that's not what it was. We ended up winning the game, so I'm very happy. And we finally won our game after going behind and being behind at half-time. We'd failed to do that in the 6 previous attempts where we'd been behind at half-time this season. So that's positive to know that we've got that energy and hunger to battle through as the game's gone on. Gareth Bale, he has had a direct hand in 11 goals in his last 11 starts in all competitions. So that just goes to show you that the Arsenal game was probably a bit of a blip because he's very important and he did the job for us again today. And Sonny, that man has 15 Premier League goals this season. Now that is his best goal scoring season in a Spurs shirt. What can we say? Like Harry Kane has been outstanding this season. Son, although he's been quiet recently, it still goes to show this is his best season so far. And as much as we want to talk about the negative football of Jose, we have to remember we'd scored a hell of a lot of goals and he managed to get the best out of our 2 best attacking players. It just feels to me like maybe he just couldn't get the rest of the team on the same wavelength. But yeah, impressive from Bale and Sonny there. Obviously, before the game, there was protests outside the stadium from the fans wanting Enoch out, Daniel Levy out. Now, this is a tough one. I mean, obviously, Levy's been very good for us financially. There's been a lot of times where we've been annoyed at him for selling players when he shouldn't have. I mean, I feel like we should have got one more season out of Gareth Bale before we sold him. Dimitar Berbatov, a lot of us weren't happy when he went. Luka Modric, definitely, we weren't happy with that one. And as well as that, he doesn't like to spend too much money on the players. Like we've missed out on players because of it. Jack Grealish being the biggest one to stand out at the moment. We could have had him for very little money, and Daniel Levy wanted to get him for even less, and that put us out of contention for him. And one that I think I'm really annoyed about, not about bringing in a player, letting a player go, was Moussa Dembele. Obviously, we let him go in the January in the same season that we got to the final of the Champions League. Now, I'm not saying we definitely would have won the Champions League had he been at the club, but we'd have had damn sight more of a chance. And the problem with that was Daniel Levy just didn't want to lose him for nothing. So instead, he sold him in January when we could have done with him for the running of the season, because we were very poor after he left. We didn't have anybody else like him. And every single Spurs player that's been interviewed and asked who the best player is they've played with, it's always Moussa Dembele. And that tells you everything, really. Like, the money has been more important to Daniel Levy. It's not like we paid a lot of money for Moussa Dembele. I'd have quite happily kept him for the season. Had we won the Champions League, I wouldn't have minded letting him go for free. Like, job done. He's given us a lot. So I don't know where I stand on the ENIC out, Levy out. I mean, obviously this Super League thing was ridiculous. But yes, people make mistakes. They went about it in the wrong way. The only problem we've got, if Levy goes and they sell the club, they're just going to go to the highest bidder because they're going to want to make the most money possible. And as fans, we don't have a say in who they sell the club to. So we're just back in the same position again. But we're probably going to end up with foreign owners that don't really understand the history of the club properly. And they're going to see it as even more of a business. So, the grass isn't always greener. I think really what we deserve is a proper apology from Daniel Levy and the board to say they got it wrong, and they're just going to have to do stuff to make it up to us. They're going to have to invest heavily in the squad. They're going to have to give us the players that we need. We certainly need another centre-back who is a leader. We're going to need another striker. I don't think we're going to get Vinicius. It looks like Wolves are going to come in for him, and they've got very good connections within Portugal, down to their ownership and people that invest in the club. And obviously Vinicius has spent a large portion of his career in Portugal, so that could happen. And I feel like if it comes down to money, Wolves will beat us out on that one. So next up, Manchester City, Carabao Cup final. We're coming off the back of a victory, as are they. But you never know. You never know. I'm slightly optimistic. It's a cup final, 50-50. It's just whoever gives the most on the day. I'm hoping it's much better than the Champions League final, because I felt like we had so much drama in the games leading up. The quarterfinals, the semi-finals, for a very, very lacklustre final that was kind of cagey between us and Liverpool. The handball, which led to the penalty, ruined the game, really, for us. So hopefully we can turn it on and just go at them from the beginning. I mean, that's what I'd like to see. So if you want to watch that game, that'll be live on Sky Sports Football from 4 p.m. That's your commentary. And then kick off at 4:30. My aim is to get you a video. What are we on now? So it's Thursday today. Press conferences normally come out the day before. So my hope is to either record a video Friday night so it's ready for you Saturday morning, or I'll record it Saturday morning, out for you Saturday afternoon. I mean, I'll try and get it out before the press conference just so you've got something. And then after the press conference comes out, I might do you a quick video just on what Ryan Mason said or any of the players. I don't know who they're going to interview for this one. But yeah, certainly keep your eyes peeled for Saturday morning into Saturday afternoon for some more information from me. But that's it for today, guys. Although it wasn't the best performance, it's nice to see us pushing towards the end of the game. It's great to see Ryan Mason get a win. All we've got to do now is just get behind Ryan Mason, get behind the guys, and we'll readdress all the crap that we need to get through at the end of the season. So, fingers crossed Ryan Mason gets us that cup victory and goes down in Spurs history. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. Support it with a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And as we're all in a better mood after the victory, I feel like we should just give it a little thumbs up. And if you've got any comments below, let me know. What do you think is going to happen in the final? Are you happy with the Ryan Mason appointment? Are you ENIC in or out? Levy in or out? Let me know. Let's get a conversation going. I'll get back to as many of the comments as I can. But yeah, as I said, subscribe, like, and you can even pop on the bell notification so you get notified when the next video goes live. This was me, Kieran, from Speaking Spurs. Make sure you head over to Instagram, speaking_Spurs. Give us a follow. And and I'll speak to you again very soon. So stay safe, and as always, come on you Spurs.